Welcome to the Old-Fashioned Masonic Podcast, where we talk all things Freemasons, while drinking an old-fashioned. If you're not already a subscriber, please hit that subscribe button now. Platforms other than YouTube tend to block some of our content. Subscribe now to get up-to-date videos and shorts as they release. Now, enjoy this episode.
Welcome to the Old-Fashioned Masonic Podcast, where we talk all things Freemasons while drinking an old-fashioned. I'm Brian.
And I'm Russ.
Russ, yet again, we continue to lure in, trap, trick, whatever we do, and bring in past grandmasters into the podcast.
They just appear, don't they?
You know, it's because of you, not me, I can assure you.
It's almost like they're just watching after us.
You know what? They're waiting for us to make them. You know, Wood, Bird, or Brown, they're going to do something and we're going to grab. So, but we know better than that because, so first of all, introduce who do we have in front of us?
Well, today we have Most Worshipful Tracy Bloom.
Welcome.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Yes.
Tracy,
thank you.
We know the answer because we can tell who's been on our. So, you've seen a podcast at least.
I have.
Seen more than one.
More than one.
So, you know
Many.
that we're not going to trap you or do anything silly. What's the most controversial question that you've seen us ask of somebody on here? We don't do that too often.
I don't know. I guess I don't think there is one. I think it's all just
agree.
Good, honest answers.
It's all pretty straightforward. We don't try to trap anybody. If we do, it's usually each other. So we want to warn you in advance. You may get caught in our crossfire. This is what we do.
Sometimes.
That's all right.
Sometimes. So, as with our entire podcast, we like to know more about the man and not just the Mason. So the opening question, who's Tracy Bloom? The man.
Oh, wow. Okay. So, born and raised in a small community in north central Kansas, Clay Center, just a few miles from Manhattan and Abilene. Went to high school there, graduated, didn't go to college. Ended up working for a furniture store and then the gas company, and then transferred to Salina, and that's about it. I then got involved in masonry and everything kind of plumed from there going forward.
So before masonry, we're saving you because this is what we do as good Masons. You have children or a love of your life that you want to throw. This is the time you do that.
Yes, absolutely. So, so this is a little bit varied story, right? So, so my wife, Lena, her and I are married, have been married for a total of 7 years on 2 different occasions. Her and I have a daughter together. She's 40 this year, which makes me feel pretty old.
Wow.
And then during a period of time, I was married to another gal in Salina, and she had 2 boys, so there were stepsons that I helped raise, and Brandon and Kellen, and they're close to my heart to this day. So
Nice.
Yeah.
Are they Masons?
No, they're not.
They're not.
They're not. I suspect someday they will.
Okay, so let's back up. Let's put some pieces to the puzzle. You were married,
Yep.
not married,
Right.
got married,
Yep.
not married, remarried, number 1.
Yes.
Okay. Just for those who are putting the pieces of the puzzle. I knew this story, and I think...
Was there going to be a whiteboard,
No, I mean, it should be like this. Take it back. The flow chart takes you back to here. You know, I always wondered about that because that's not super abnormal. I've heard it before, but it's always, and I say this with all the respect in the world, it's the devil you know.
Yeah.
Right? Like if my wife, if something were to happen, would come back, I'm the devil she knows.
Right.
Right? So you must have been a good devil because this devil, she wouldn't have me twice.
Definitely a great devil.
Right, right.
All right, so let's get down to it. So tell us about your Masonic journey from beginning.
Sure.
How did it start, and sort of just walk us through an abbreviated version of where you're at today.
So, as most everything, I think that's quite an interesting story for me, especially because I didn't really know anything about masonry before I left Clay Center. When I moved to Salina, one of the guys I worked with was a Mason and invited me up to the temple to look around, and so that evening when when we were leaving the parking lot, he says, "You got any other questions?" I said, "Yeah, what's it take to join?" And, about 2 seconds later, I had a petition in my hand. And from there, I joined the lodge. And the really strange thing for me was the night I was taking my 3rd degree, I went up to the lodge, and my uncle was there. I said, "What are you doing here?" He said, "Well, I come to get your degree." I said, "You're a Mason?" He said, "Oh, yeah, I've been a Mason for many years." So no clue that he was a Mason. And after that, I found out that not only he was a Mason, but several other of my uncles were Masons, and they were all officers of the lodge at one point. One of them was a secretary for many years. I had no clue. I had absolutely no clue.
Crazy.
And, and I think back on my childhood and, junior high, senior, or a high school, and moving forward after that, probably wasn't the great candidate to be a Mason, and fair enough, right? Sure. But there was no talk of it whatsoever. Now, these guys were all greatest generation, right? Mm-hmm. Tight-lipped bunch of guys. Mm-hmm. Years later, past Grand Master Bob Tomlinson asked me to be one of his Grand Lodge officers, and in that he asked me if I would present emblems at Clay Center for him on his behalf, and so I did. I went to the lodge, and my uncles were there. The mayor was there, who I had a great deal of respect for. My scoutmaster was there. School teachers were there.
Wow!
I just that caught me from that point forward. That I was around Masonry all my life growing up. I just didn't know it.
We always say that there's just a saying that Masons, we're everywhere.
Yeah.
Literally, everywhere.
Yeah, literally. So then...
Were there signs that you just weren't picking up? Or,
in hindsight, when you look back, you're like, oh my gosh,
did you always have Shrine Circus tickets? Did you always have
that was the only
things?
thing. That was the only thing. My one uncle would always have circus tickets for us.
Okay.
Yeah. But I never put 2 and 2 together. Yeah. So so then became active in my own lodge in Salina, became Master Lodge, a couple past Grand Masters at the time asked me to be officers for them, and then was asked to be on the line by Jimmy L. Grassi.
Okay, so you were Master in Salina in 2002. Was that the one and only time in Master in Salina?
In Salina,
because that would have been the year I met you. Powder Pike did a visitation. John Garrison, John Garrison and his dad.
Yeah,
they were all
and his cousin
Masons.
Rob was my senior warden.
Yeah, and so we.
Hey, you know what? Cheers to John Garrison.
Absolutely.
Yes. John Garrison was a great man. We just all came from an event, and John Garrison was just he's one of those stellar guys. So you're Master. You've been asked to be on some Grand Lodge lines. Keep moving.
Yeah. So then I accepted, and then was Grand Master in 2011, which is a great experience. And then shortly, actually prior to me becoming Grand Master, the Grand Secretary Bob Fitzy made his intentions known that he wanted to retire. Mm-hmm. And so they were looking for somebody to take that position, and I actually became the office manager in late 2010, and then transitioned to be Grand Master, and then later they asked me, they interviewed to be the Grand Secretary, and they picked me, and that's where I am today.
Nice. So, were you ever a secretary of your lodge before Grand Secretary?
I was not.
Okay. So,
I was not.
Russ and I have never been secretaries of a lodge. Yeah. That's a lot of work. So, forget the lodge side, because we kind of know a little bit how that works. I'm going to speak for me, and maybe Russ too. I only know you as a you were a Grand Master when I was a Mason, but I really know you as the Grand Secretary. And one of the things, and this is a compliment, we gain nothing out of just, blowing smoke. That's not our style. But one thing for sure is the few times that I've ever needed something, one, I feel like you're always available, even if it's a pain in the butt. you would never let someone know, but you seem to always be available. And you know what? If you don't have the answers, like, oh, I'm not sure, but I can get that to you. Give me a day, a week, a month, a year, a decade, whatever it may be. Mm-hmm. And so I think you're going to be a really tough act to follow. And, you know, somebody probably said that about Fitzy too, right? But I think that you're exactly what Kansas Masonry needs in the position. That's me.
Wow, I appreciate that. And,
I think you've always been readily available, and even when Russ and I challenge each other, I want to thank you because you've made me money before by listening to the podcast and giving data. Yeah. So Russ is not nearly as happy about this. So back up. So you talked about having uncles and people in your life that were Masons, but you never knew. So forget your version of it, but did that in general hurt Masonry because there were so many men that were Masons, but they were so tight-lipped that maybe that we lost some people because of that?
I believe that's a yes, because you'll notice that the greatest generation was joiners in a large part. The next generation, which is the Vietnam vets, or that area,
they got left behind.
They got left behind, and many of them didn't join. For I suppose a variety of reasons, but the greatest generation guys just didn't talk about it. They just didn't talk about it.
Or the old, what I call silly, so it's not meaning disrespectfully, the old silly thing of, well, it didn't ask me 3 times. What in the world is that?
Right.
Yeah, and I don't mean any disrespect to any of them because because they were certainly set on a path, and it was drummed into them that that's a secret society, right? I mean, there's certain ways that you ask or that you become a member, and barring you doing that, not going to happen.
Right.
So you were master in Salina, and you were around Salina for quite a few years, and so we sort of cross-pollinated a little bit because I grew up in Smoller, not too far away. Mm-hmm. I'm remembering this, and it just dawned on me. My uncle, Paul Brown, was potentate in 2002. Mm-hmm. I says, did you not do his funeral in 2010? Didn't you do his funeral service by chance, or did you? Putting me on the spot a little bit, but
I may have. I just don't remember it.
Yeah,
I hate to say that because after you do a dozen, 2 dozen, 4 dozen,
they blend together.
I actually think that's a good thing because you've served the craft so much. It's like I probably, but I just fulfilled my obligation thousands of times.
Well, I'm going to say that you did, and because at the end of the day, when you have a loved one pass, and a part of our fraternity is that funeral presentation, and it meant a lot that there were Masons that I'd sort of knew from back home, but I had been in Wichita for years, and so it was just nice to see a group of Salina Masons there.
Thinking about that, when did he pass away?
2010.
Yeah, I wouldn't have done it.
Okay.
I wouldn't have, and here's why I know that. The first Masonic funeral I did was in 2016, and it was for my father.
Okay. Oh. All right.
Wow. So how hard was that? Was that just... Did it take your mind off what was going on because you were in the Masonic mode?
It did. It gave me something to concentrate on, take my mind off of it.
Yeah.
But the day of the funeral, it certainly was tough.
Oh, I can't imagine.
Oh, yeah.
I can't imagine.
I remember Fred Smith doing the old Red Fez at his dad's funeral.
Well, and we tell that story a lot.
Yeah. Three
grown men. We were crying, and we had the ladies consoling us because we're like, oh my gosh, it's Ross, and then his son's having to do this in front of everyone. Oh my! Shout out to Ross and Fred. That was a great.
So now I'm going to have to figure out who actually did his, because I don't know why I think in my head and maybe you were there.
You were probably there.
I don't know.
Yeah, it was probably Doug Gomel. past master from Salina. It's either Doug Gomel or Jim Wynn.
We're going to get to the bottom of it.
We
folks.
are going to get to the bottom
of it. And maybe if we get to the bottom of it, it'll be at the bottom of it. So we'll figure it out. So as Grandmaster, there's lots of things that you get accomplished and things you don't get accomplished. If you could only pick one, what's the one thing that you wish that you wanted to get accomplished, but you just didn't work out like you had hoped in your big plan? Just one thing.
That's a great question. So me and my infinite wisdom thought coming into my year, being the office manager would give me a chance to plan for my year's Grandmaster. Well, I don't know if you've ever sat in a Grand Lodge office, but Grand Lodge office is quite busy sometimes. And I didn't have that time to prepare like I wanted to. But I guess, to be honest with you, my goal for the year was just not to mess something up.
Okay. Did you feel like you accomplished that?
I think I did.
Okay.
I think I did. I didn't have anybody.
Past Grandmasters chime in.
Yeah, I didn't have anybody coming down too hard on me, but it was a challenge doing both those jobs at the same time. I would not recommend that for anybody else to do.
Right.
Yeah.
So I believe you mentioned this, but let's talk about it for a minute. So who, again, tapped you for Grand Senior Deacon? Put you on the line.
Yeah.
And then what was that relationship between the two of you? And
yeah, Jimmy Grassi. And it was kind of, I tell you what, I was utter shocked when he asked me. As a matter of fact, I had him repeat it because I thought I heard him wrong. I thought he said Senior Deacon, and he did. That's what he said. But Jimmy and I had a relationship. Obviously, from that point forward, I don't know why he picked me. I guess. I mean, the only thing I can think of is that at the time, the Grand Lodge session was being held in Salina, and I was quite active with the lodge and helping prepare for the Grand Annual Communication, and grabbing chairs and pulling them off during installation and stuff like that. And I think that's probably why he tagged me, because he pulled me aside and asked me about the annual communication and if I had this and this and this and this all taken care of, which we did. And but then he asked me, where'd that come from,
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So thought about it for a couple days. Called him back and said we'd do it because I had to consult with my wife.
Sure, it is a wee thing. I mean, it's a big
commitment.
Not that they're involved, but it's just like, I might be away from home 30 weekends a month, 30 Saturdays a month, dedicating a cornerstone somewhere.
Yeah. I will say, there was a transition at that time too. Roy Sullivan was the Grand Senior Warden. No, I'm sorry. He was a Deputy Grand Master. Kent was a Senior Warden, and I was Junior Warden. And Roy pulled us together along with Don Newman, who was a Senior Deacon, and he says, listen, we've got to figure something out going forward because we all have jobs. We all can't be across the state and to work on Wednesday morning. And so we started what's called Council on Planning now. And basically the decision was that the Grand Master didn't have to travel. It'd be nice if he could travel every place and give pins, but it just wasn't practical.
It's not practical. I mean...
And so we kind of started down that road, which gave leave to being able to have, like dedication ceremonies that were better, or weekend ceremonies that were more well attended by Grand Lodge officers. So that helped.
Yeah. So the next question is a fun question we ask a lot of people, and we get some amazing answers, and it just sort of tells a little bit about the person. So, living or dead, who would you like to have a meal with that you have never had a meal with before?
Wow. Living or dead.
But you've never had it with them before. It's a tough one.
It is a tough one. I'm gonna have to say Albert Einstein.
Okay.
Okay, fair. Why?
Yeah.
I think the man was brilliant, and I would love to ask him about some things. Huh?
Yeah.
I think that's a great one. We've never heard that.
Yeah.
I think never am I in the room that I'm the smartest guy in the room. So I've grown accustomed to that. But with Albert Einstein, I would feel like I was structuring sentences the wrong way. It would be
almost like you feel like you're shrinking to insignificance.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, and I don't want to hear him in the German accent telling me how dumb I am. So, kind of in that same vein, if you could have a superpower, what would you want that superpower to be and why?
Oh, I don't know. I guess. Oh boy. I don't want to be able to read minds.
So I like that one. That's mine.
Yeah, no, I don't want to do that. Levitation.
Levitate like the fly, maybe?
Yeah, give me the remote. Have the remote come over.
Oh, just
yeah.
okay. What was your what would you
I
like?
don't even remember what mine
What
was.
would you want it to be now? You can change. I like the mind reading more for just my wife sometimes. I just need to. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I don't know.
Change. There's no change in masonry.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow. All right. With that, you were present when your brother was raised a Master Mason. So talk to us about that. What did it mean to you, your family? What was that like?
So I've had a lot of Masonic honors in my career. You know, being Master of the Lodge, Master of 2 lodges actually, Grand Master, Past Grand Master, Grand Secretary. I can tell you without a doubt the 2 most significant Masonic experiences that I've had is number 1, raising my father to a Master Mason, and raising my brother to be a Master Mason. Mm-hmm. Along that, my cousin was also at one of those meetings, and I didn't raise him, but his father was there and raised him.
Right.
So, yeah.
Nice. Well, so those who follow, in previous episode, Most Worshipful Tracy's brother Garth was on. So go back, because we have a little bit of fun with Garth. Garth is the master of Albert Pike Lodge in 2023, and he's always very complimentary when he speaks of his big brother as well, and you've got to be involved in some stuff that he didn't even expect you to be able to be involved in, which is nice. So we'll keep that our own little
lot of
secret.
fun.
A lot of little fun. So proficiency, big topic, right?
Okay.
Around. Mm-hmm. So we asked this is kind of our new hot question.
Okay.
You can't have a hybrid version. Would you rather have at your lodge a line full of AB Master Unlimited card holders or a line full of inspirational leaders? You can't have a mixture of both.
Inspirational leaders.
And why?
Well,
and we're not discounting proficiency.
Right.
Not discounting
proficiency, because I think those inspirational leaders could also be semi-proficient. But I think you need the inspiration to move forward and make things better for your lodge and for yourself and for your family and for the community.
Yeah, we agree. Obviously the perfect answer is a hybrid of all.
Right.
But yeah, if you had to pick one, because if you don't have the inspirational leader, how does that bring the people in and inspire to? Yeah, so it's an unfair. It's an unfair question. You need a little bit of everything. Yeah. And there's so many. Chris Collins. What's really interesting, Chris Collins, young master of Pike, he has really challenged some of the old guys, and I hear Dave Hendricks. He's a proficient machine, but he now all of a sudden, because Chris kind of called him out, he's working on his proficiency cards. So, I know all the work, but now I just got to prove it. So Chris has kind of challenged me. He's like, well, you should be working your way up through all of these cards. And why do you want to do it? I don't want. Right. So it's really good because we put this pressure on what we call the kids, the younger generation. Then they flip the script right back on. It's like, all right, big boy, what can you do?
Fair play.
But I love it.
Fair play.
I love it. I think it's a great thing. So
earlier, I didn't hear this, so I'll just ask. Have you ever been a district deputy?
I have never been a district deputy, but I've been an area deputy.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Very good. How long? And how long did you do that?
I think it was 3 years.
Do you like it?
Yeah, I did, but that was back. I was extremely busy, and that was a time when the area deputy just didn't have a great deal of duties to do. That's changed. That's come full circle. Area deputies are instrumental in moving forward with our district deputies and interacting with the council administration going forward. So,
do you like the current direction of area and district deputies? Would you like to see something change in that?
Controversial alert.
Yep. I do like it. I do think that the system that we have now, where the district deputy goes out and visits a lodge and fills out a report that he answers yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, and it gives a calculation at the end, is okay. But I think what can be improved is that the district deputy, at some point in his visit, whether that's spring or fall, just goes to the lodge and says, "I'm here. What can I do to help you?"
The true liaison.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because right now they're being perceived as judge and executioner.
They are. And I understand that's a tough job for them to do sometimes, and it's not popular.
Especially inside of your own area where you're at. Right. Sometimes your own lodge.
Right. And we're trying to curb that too, is to, not send a district deputy to his own lodge. We'll try to have a district deputy from another district come in and visit that lodge. So he doesn't have to judge his own lodge.
Yeah. District deputy, hands down, was my favorite Grand Lodge position.
Cool.
I just thought you really got to interact, and the scorecard was a little different when we did that. But we walked after, hey, let me show you what I see.
Yeah.
And so that way, they weren't blindsided. It was no different dealing with employees. Like, hey, this is what I'm saying. So okay, I didn't really notice that. So they don't think that you're just, oh yeah, hey, great, and then you give them a crappy report.
Right.
So, okay. So Bob Talbot, Most Worshipful Bob Talbot.
I do.
And we know him while we run it. So he forces us. He forces. You know how he is. So he forces us to refer to him as the best looking living past Grand Master in Kansas. Okay? So let's assume he's wrong. So if he's wrong, who's the best living past Grand Master in Kansas, right? Who takes the spot? Who takes Talbot out?
Best looking.
Not best looking. Aesthetically pleasing. Who's the eye candy?
All right, Souter.
Oh, no stinking way. Souter, you are. Who would you have said?
I'm not getting into this.
Get in it. Hey, it's easy. Hey, it's Man Crush Monday. It's Mike Johnson. I've crushed out on you before. You're a good looking dude. I've said it before. Get the old heart going.
Yeah. That's a little much.
And there's some other banter Russ and I have, so it's about to flip on me. So,
all right. So we've talked about superpowers. We've talked about a lot of silly things, but truly, if you had a magic wand that you could improve Masonry today, sort of what area would that be? What would you do if you could just go
fix this problem? Boom.
Well, look, from my perspective, membership's always a problem. Do I think you can just wave a wand and fix that? I wish we could, but I wish it would be for the right people to come into the lodge.
Quality, not quantity.
Quality, not quantity.
Always.
Absolutely.
How do we, I'm going to dovetail off of that.
Yeah.
How do we attract quality? And let me corner you. I'm going to corner you a little bit more. Let me package this a different way.
Okay.
I feel like when I ask somebody what's our brand, people say, oh, it's a square and compass. No. I believe our brand is the Mason. Okay? So, now I'm going to really corner you. If our brand was a little more polished, would we attract a different type of member?
Yes.
I'm not going to take you anymore. So, I'll say it. Guys, sometimes we are our worst enemy in Masonry. I did a Grand Lodge presentation at Leadership Academy. There's fellas out there that you'll rock the fez with the middle finger up, or you'll do an Instagram post and you're wearing a square and compass in some place that we wouldn't want the square and compass at. I just think we as Masons sometimes, even including ourselves, whether you're rocking the square and compass or not, most people in our lives know we're Masons. So when we're in public, we need to represent that brand as if we are wearing the big square and compass says, "Look at me, join now." Unfair?
Yep. And fair warning, brothers. If the grumpy old Grand Secretary sees posts like that, I usually email or pick up the phone and call somebody.
Yeah, fix it.
Because we don't need that perception out there.
We're speaking the same language.
Yep.
So, the most important question of the podcast. Always. Dancing girl, right? One has to go forever. Okay?
Has there ever been a dancing girl cross?
Always. Every time.
Yeah.
So, up on the screen, you have 4 things. One has to go forever. Beer, any kind of beer. Dark, light, heavy, whatever. Wine, red or white. A good old scotch. Or vodka. One has to go forever. It was never invented. What would it be and why?
Vodka. It just is the thing that's different there. It doesn't fit in.
Okay. Vodka? Vodka'd have to go? Not a vodka guy?
Nope. Vodka's got to go.
Simple. That's Russ's favorite.
Mm-hmm. That's too bad.
Yeah. Russ's beer, I think, although it's probably wine. I'm not a wine guy. So, but you like a good wine.
Yeah, I like good wine. Yeah.
So, brothers, that's all we have. Tracy, thank you for joining the Old Fashioned Masonic Podcast. Cheers.
You,
what did you think of this episode? To continue to promote Freemasonry, hit that like button now. Don't forget to smash that subscribe button and give us a comment. The Old Fashioned Masonic Podcast, where real Masons talk Freemasonry. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and give us a comment.